Thank you all for joining us this morning. This is the first in what will be a series of partnership events between ourselves and Ernst & Young, so we're very pleased to kick this off and to have you all here. We've got a lot of experience in the room and real diversity from our guests, fellow guests from Ernst & Young to partners and firms that are in the room. Our founders and initiators, Tullow Oil, who we'll be hearing from later, as well as the likes of Lonrho, Vodafone, the FTs, This is Africa. We've got Komla here from the BBC, the representation from the Foreign Office and UKTI. The diversity and quality of people in the room here today sort of represents what Invest in Africa is all about. And the first of those objectives and challenges is to start to help to challenge those outdated perceptions that still dominate most of the conversations around Africa.
Ernst & Young has been operating in Africa for over 150 years. We're not a global firm that is new to Africa. We're not a South African firm that is sort of expanding into the rest of Africa. We have a physical presence in 33 countries in Africa. We very quickly realized that so much of the decision making, so many of the conversations we were having were based on opinion, on perception, on perceptions that are often 10 or even 20 years out of date. We certainly feel that Africa, given all the positive fundamentals that we're seeing, should be attracting at least double the investment that it's currently attracting. And so for us, the partnership with Invest in Africa is very well timed. Our principles, our values seem to be very well aligned with those of Invest in Africa, so we're really excited about the partnership. As a firm, our outlook on Africa is very positive. I guess we'd call ourselves optimistic realists. But the skepticism that still remains below the surface is still very much there. So, yeah, sure, 6 of the 10 fastest economies over the last 10 years were African and 7 of the 10. But there's always a but in it. And I think that's why there's still a lot of work to do on marketing the region as a whole as an investment destination.
Tullow's experience in Africa is 26 years old. And those of us who've been with the company over the last 8 years have experienced tremendous growth, largely through our huge successes in Africa. But it's not through something that just happened overnight. It's been very much about perseverance. And one thing that I'm struck with when I think about how you actually get into Africa is that it does take time. In many cases, you need to prepare in order to actually be successful. And you may not necessarily succeed first time around. About perseverance. We use one word, the T word, not Tullow, but tenacity along. And it's very important that with any frontier that we understand how important it is to try and try again.
I look at opportunities, and I wrote the phrase down, grab opportunities, mitigate risk, as being my approach, Lonrho's approach to investing in Africa. We're not new to Africa. We've been, not quite as long as Ernst & Young, but we've been investing in Africa for 109 years. We don't do anything else. So there isn't the starting point that says, shall I invest in Africa? I don't have anything else to do all day other than invest in Africa. So we're past that hurdle a long time ago. Lonrho's strategy is all about 3 key sectors, which is agriculture, oil and gas, and the mineral and mining sector. And we're looking for ways in which we can bring our business model to support those sectors, almost regardless of country. One of the things that you also have to be very conscious of and understand is you have to take the time, you have to understand the market you're looking to invest in, the opportunities. Take time to understand the regulation, the governance, the people, the partnerships, the politics. If you take that time and understanding, and that's a message that I hope we manage to get out as far as possible.
One of the things that just occurred to me when we were talking about the issue of this sort of political risk, corruption, which come really high on people's radar. We're out talking to investors that are generally not particularly investors in Africa. We're doing a lot of education. Those are all their perceptions are the ones we're talking about in this room. And they have a real struggle with getting this, even though they invest in places like Brazil and China and India, getting themselves across the line to invest in Africa because of these reasons. But you actually look at the returns that come with it, and if you look at someone like China, and you look at the returns you made 2000 to 2010, a lot of people thought they were early in 2000, you made about 70% return. The previous decade, from 1990 to 2000, you made 938% return in listed stocks. Now, the problems you would have faced in 1990 are exactly the same. If you'd stood up to it and said you should be investing in China, then political issues, corruption. Russia, 95 to today, exactly the same problems in 95, similar size economy to Nigeria, number of people, oil and gas dominated economy. those problems weren't wrong, but you'd have missed out on a 2,200% return in Russia over the period. So the returns are there. Back to David's point about the high-risk countries, often this is a real showing of where risk and return go hand in hand.
My question to you is, how engaged are you with media, global media? Is there a continuing relationship with global media in terms of changing the perception and not just achieving your immediate business goals?
There's no doubt we could be doing a lot more, probably should be doing a lot more, particularly on global platforms. So, yeah.
It's really important that what's coming through here to me is that we, as investors who are already in Africa and representing companies who are there, have a slightly unique role to play perhaps in Africa, in that addressing these perceptions and stepping out of our day-to-day jobs and sitting at these sorts of platforms and tables and supporting of things like Invest in Africa, you are actually driving investment into funds like Alquity that might not directly come into your companies, but they achieve what you're trying to achieve. They put more investment in market, they address those perceptions, and they make Africa look more doable. You know, that I think for us is unique, is that we have a role to play to step up out of the everyday operational issues and share experiences and make the most of those and turn them into opportunities, because by doing that, you will create the change that you struggle with on a day-to-day basis, whether it be with your investors or with partner firms. But I look forward to seeing you at the next opportunity. Thank you.